You think I actually going into this with a plan? No. We don't do a plan here. No matter. Hello, everyone. This is Aaron Caster, and this is the Mechpit chat. So my guest tonight is running a little behind, a little bit late, so I figured, what the heck, I'll just kind of wing it for now, which he can show up whenever he's good and ready. So hopefully I am coming through just fine, but we'll see about that. So good Mecha Mondays, everyone. How are we doing out there? As it turns out, guys, things are going pretty good here. I'm just kind of getting back to work after having a nice little week off. And so I got to get myself kind of back into the whatever grind of my work life, which, fun stuff there. But that's not what you guys come for. No, not at all. Because we have it's Monday. It's a chance to kind of get in and relax. We'll hang out. We'll kind of see what's going on. So it would seem this week that Netflix has opted to give us a preview for a new Gundam series that they're putting out, which I did not expect at all. This was completely off my radar, only to wake up like Sunday and discover, yeah, by the way, here's a Gundam preview, which I'm not actually sure if I can show. But if I can at least pull up some previews or anything for this. Because we have a new CGI Gundam series coming to us from the boys at Netflix. Which, yes, my immediate thought is, this is going to be bad. But who knows what will happen. I mean, the only downside I'm seeing, though, is it is yet another 1 Year War story, which, yeah, cool, guys. I get it. It's popular. I like the 1 Year War too, but can we do something else? Do we have to do yet another 1 Year War story? What about with the Titans? Like, what about them? Can we do something involving them? Or no, we got no more Xeons shit? Yay. No matter. We kind of pull this up here because this at least get a little. Oh. All right, so I can at least show off something in the meantime here. Because we have, as I zoom in, Mobile Suit Gundam Requiem for Vengeance, coming soon to Netflix. But we don't know when. So, 2024? That's the unfortunate thing. It was like, yeah, cool. We got a really good looking trailer, which I'm going to have to dissect and get into and check out, but that's not telling me much now. Yeah, and people are definitely getting the Zeonic Front vibes out of this, which, yeah, I get that, and I don't know. We'll have to see with it, because it's. I want to know if they are going to go play it straight, or if we're gonna get sort of the modern trend of some like apologetic, like, oh, we're sorry we made these bad guys bad, which flies in the face of kind of the whole message of Gundam, which is irritating. I'm really hoping that's not going to be the case they go, but we'll whatever. We'll have to see where this goes. Which is unfortunate, because look, at the end of the day, I want more cool mech shit, and at the end of the day, I want to like it. Requiem for Vengeance looks okay-ish, but I really do not like the main character's look. Looks way too current year Karen for my taste. Yeah. I gotta look this up again. Let's see, Crow. The thing is, like, I'll pull the screen up again just to at least have some visual references because, like, I'm looking at it, I like the look of the Gaw. Like, they can get the technical stuff looks good. Like, yeah, cool. We got some that. Okay, I like seeing actual twisty knobs and dials. We don't just have like touchscreen buttons. Give me more like kind of analog controls. I think that is something that they ought to do more of. Actually, let's go back to that. That's what I want to see anyway. Actually, and oh wait, if November 6th, so that means we're getting right to the end. So I think no, not Aboaku. I think Aboaku had happened by this point. Like I'd have to go look again, but that was like the big turning point. Yeah, Matt, I totally agree. Like the analog looks so much better. Also, look, oh my god, look at this display. This looks good. I'm liking what I'm seeing here with that. Oh, I want to push buttons. Like, come on, look how good that is. Like this is the shit we want to like nerd out over. And we'll test it a little bit. Yeah, we'll play it safe. Oh, give me the eye. Yes. I love it. I love the little details, just all these extra little bits and pieces of like of just the extra like paneling and stickers applications to the mechs. Give me those detailed stompy mech feet. This is what I love. I love these little details. We're just kind of skipping along a little bit. What else we got?
Charlie, are you home now? Don't worry about me.
Wait, so I gotta look this up. I'm curious now if that's like one of the, if that's a particular battalion we actually know about, because that's a good question. And I like the implication that like it looks like they're kind of piecemealing the suit together, especially on the left here, because like, I mean, look, we see the obvious different paint applications. So maybe little things. Look at that, just the damage to these. If nothing else, there's going to be some good like mech porn out of this. Like, give me the details. I want to see like gears turning and things grabbing out of each other. And I want something that looks like it's like out of like, I want to see some great, exciting like visuals. I don't want to see, I am sick of seeing the modern trend with when it comes to sci-fi of just nanites just kind of like venoming over something. You go and you're just all caught up. It's like, no, don't do that. I don't want that. Hey, 1 second. Let me see what's. There might be no link there. All right. I'm assuming this guy's going to be our protagonist because I've seen him pop up a couple times in the trailer. And it looks like we've got sort of the whole crew here. So this is probably going to be a story of ultimately this entire like squad during the 1 year war. And then they wind up facing off with an experimental Gundam. And that's going to be the way our story goes, which has been told about a dozen times now. And that's the unfortunate thing. Oh, good. Oh, you mean this classic Karen with the Karen side shave, number 23, who looks like she should be on the cover of like a Overwatch game, Overwatch knockoff. Unfortunately, I think she's a little too late to get into Gundam Evolve because that just shut down about last week. Which actually, now seeing that in here, one of the things I do really like is getting to see some actual like jets in play. I want to see some fighter jets in the battle. That's something. That's an element I think that we don't get to see enough of in these. I want to see. But I do want to see them actually be, seen as something of a threat. That they're not just there solely to get cut down. I want to see some fighter jets flying in, fucking people up, and actually causing some damage to a suit. Make them be one of the many, many problems when it comes to war. That is one of the things I'm really hoping to see. But look, let's be honest. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is going to be the mechs, and so they're basically just going to exist. I'm guessing just to be destroyed. Actually, then I think I have that here somewhere, so I might have to try to figure out how to set up some streaming stuff for myself to actually go play through some of these PS2 era games. For myself, I personally think Gundam Battle Operation 2, the fighting game is like my favorite Gundam game, but that was also like one of the first ones I played. Like, let's see, we're going along. What the hell is that? It's a Gundam! And everyone laughed. Oh, money shot. And at the end of the day, look, I see I think it's gonna be yet another series out there. I don't think this particular Gundam series is gonna necessarily change everything in a way, but I think it will nevertheless be something that we'll talk about for probably a week. Hi, Office Girl. I'm just waiting briefly for my guest to show up before we start to do a little bit of lore hammering, if you will. So just kind of buying a little bit of time for them. But yeah, that aside, that was like the big thing that came out this weekend in terms of the mech news. And all in all, it's not the worst news that could have come out. Like, we're certainly hearing that, like, it's not the worst thing that could have happened. I'm willing to check it out. I mean, heck, I'm kind of doing mech stuff, so this is kind of on brand for me now. And he's coming. Pregnant pause. But yeah, that is ultimately the news of the day in terms to the mech. That what comes to the mech stuff for now. As for myself, I've been doing a little bit more delving into some more Kamen Rider. That's kind of where I've been lately. It's been hard to not delve there because there's no superhero stuff we're talking about, and what the heck, we're just gonna wing it and have fun. Why don't I go check out some like 2014 Japanese superhero show? That's awesome. Let me see here. Learn me this stuff. Well, you see, Warhammer 40k is a tabletop role-playing game. That is, oh my god, so much lore. I have also spent the last week just reading and learning about Warhammer, getting into things, learning a little bit more than like beyond the basics of, oh yeah, there's these space marines here. And I think I hear a drop pod, guys, because it seems we have our Space Marine expert himself finally making his appearance.
Well,
hello.
Hey, What's going on, guys? Yeah, I don't know if expert is what you would call me, but I definitely know I know enough to be dangerous and either cause people to roll their eyes back in their head going, "What the fuck is he talking about?" Or they go, "Oh, that actually sounds really cool." It either works one or the other. I don't generally get much of a reaction, but I can go a good solid long time explaining the whole world of Warhammer 40K to you. And it wasn't really necessarily my knowledge of Warhammer 40K that got me a spot as the Geeks and Gamers tabletop Warhammer 40K lore master. It was basically because nobody else would want a fucking job. Like, because a lot of people get scared. Like, they had one other guy that was supposed to make content and they never got any content out of him. And I was, because of my YouTube channel, because if anybody that doesn't know, I see Low Spec Linux Laptop. I see you in the chat, brother. Good to see you, my friend. But in case anybody doesn't know, yes, always with the penguins in the chat. I was on YouTube, and YouTube was my full-time job, right? That was what I was doing. And back in October, I got nuked for my buddy eating a banana on stream that we turned into a GIF that literally had been my outro for 6 months. It had been my outro for 6 months. And all of a sudden, about 2 weeks after I get called out by a Hollywood director, hi, Julian, Director X, all of a sudden my YouTube channel gets a whole lot more scrutiny, and I got nuked within not even 72 hours. It was 48 hours. I got one content pulled because of it. I got a content warning for it the first time on Monday. I thought it was just a fluke, no big deal. Went on about my business. Woke up Wednesday morning, my entire channel was gone. So yeah, all attempts at recovery and all of that kind of stuff have told, they have all just given me the finger. So I might randomly try every once in a while to see if I can catch somebody off guard and they'll reinstate it. But other than that, I'm just trying to rebuild on Rumble right now. Fortunately enough, a lot of my subscribers and my followers from YouTube came right over to Rumble. And the nice part was it was some of the guys with pockets. And so they came in clutch and they were like, "Hey, we got you." And so, yeah, that's been very good to them. And I got plenty of my great friends and co-hosts that I can pimp out, and they love doing dumb things and they're hot girls. So it makes it even easier to get them to do dumb things on stream than guys send money for it. So it works out nice. I have really good friends.
That's been one of the things I find interesting in watching is people especially want to help out when they feel like there has been an injustice served. And that has been one of the most, what I feel is hopeful things that's come out of sort of a lot of all this, because we've all come together out of a sense of, right and wrong that's come from, partially instilled in all of this pop culture that we have so encircled ourselves with. And it's become the modern mythology has shaped all of us.
Yeah, it absolutely has. That's exactly what it is. And that's why these stories are so important. That's the reason why I turned on a camera. That's the reason I got a microphone. That's the reason why I did all of this stuff, because our culture is the most important thing. Like I did politics stuff for quite a few years after 2020. And but the problem is it gets so frustrated to a point because you have all of these people that are all, and I hate to say this, but they're old and stuck in their ways. And that makes me sound like the young whippersnapper, but it really is. These people are not willing to open themselves up to new information. They'll just be like, "Well, I'm going with that guy because he's always been my guy," and yada, yada, yada. It doesn't matter all the evidence you can throw at him saying that this guy did horrendous things and needs to be, if nothing less than ousted out of office, let alone maybe some public trials. But culture is the way you've got to do it. You've got to change the culture first. I completely and totally believe in what Breitbart said, that everything's downstream of culture. And considering the fact that I've got 4 kids with a 5th one on the way, it's one of them situations where I'm like, the culture needs to be taken care of because I need something to pass on to my children. Fortunately enough, I think we are winning. I think the wind is at our back. I think the pendulum's going to swing so hard in their back that the Mickey Mouse's nose is going to end up being on the backside of his head before it's all done and over with. But yeah, that's the fun part about that. And Office Girl, I did appeal. And I like what you said. You got nuked by a nanner. You need to appeal. Peel like a banana. See what you did there? That's funny. I like it. So, but yeah, you guys can come find me over on Rumble. You can find me on Twitter. It's the Common Nerd on Rumble. It's Common Nerd 1791 on Twitter. You can find me on all of those places. It's really easy to find me. I'm Odyssey. I live stream even to Facebook sometimes, just because why the hell not? Might as well be there as long as they allow me to be there. So, but yeah, I'm all over there. I'm all over the place.
Because the one thing I have noticed with politics is so much of it is it's movement in millimeters that's hyper scrutinized. Politics is slow.
Yeah.
And to try to turn that into the everyday coverage is going to be terrible for hairlines. To put it mildly.
Oh yeah, trust me.
And I mean,
Yeah.
you're absolutely
I
right
blame
though.
the military.
Like, just us focusing on the culture has absolutely had an effect. I mean, there was just an article that said that came out this within the last couple of days saying there's been a $4.5 trillion deficit because of sort of the counterculture movement.
Yeah,
In
because
not so many
nobody's
words,
going
but
to see the main. That's because people aren't going to the mainstream stuff anymore, right? They've all checked out. They don't trust these big studios anymore. They trust either their friends who were brave enough to go give a movie a shot, or their favorite YouTuber, or their favorite Rumbler, their favorite live stream commentator, because they don't trust the advertisings. They don't trust your trailers. They don't trust your marketing. They don't trust any of you anymore because we've all been burned so many times.
and what is the if any other question they ask, what is the one question that will always pop up and be asked of any movie that comes out? 3 words.
Was it woke? Yep.
That's the only thing that matters now. Like, not is it good? Because look, how many times have you thrown on a terrible movie and you love it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you can love a bad movie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's plenty of examples of bad movies you love out there. I mean, fuck, you could by definition, you could say Evil Dead is a bad movie, but it's become an absolute cult classic. Everybody loves that damn movie. You know what I mean? Unless you're just some weirdo who's not into those kind of things. And that's okay too. There's probably something that you're into that I'm not. But yeah, there's a lot of things like that are out there.
And I suppose that's kind of at the heart and crux of a little bit of what I'm doing here with this is it's okay for things to exist, for there to be a niche. And I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind. Hey, not everyone's gonna be into like some big robot shit. Like, not everyone wants to see big stompy robots or guys in rubber suits in little scale model cities just wrestling around and having just bright colorful explosions going on behind them.
Yeah,
that's not for everyone, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Not everything has to be for everyone. And that's the most important part of it. And like you brought me in to talk about Warhammer tonight, right? And I know Office Girl wants to learn about that kind of stuff too. And that's the thing. Warhammer is one of those, it is not for everybody. And there have been certain people in the peripheral that have come in and tried to wokeify it. And they get their faces stomped in, not literally, but verbally, online whenever they try to do that. Like there's always an argument. Why isn't there female Space Marines? Because there's not. Space Marines are male. That's why. Okay. And like we can give you all the augmentation reasons, and there's even explanations. There's even like I've got Wrath and Glory. I've got the PDF for Wrath and Glory, which is the tabletop RPG, or is the RPG, like the D&D style RPG of Warhammer. And because like most people know like Warhammer from like either the lore is what a lot of people are into, though, which is a lot easier to get into than like the actual game. But it's like this right here. This is my Dark Angels Codex. This is actually who I just did a video over on Saturday. I did a brief history of the Dark Angels on, I recorded the video on Saturday. It should come out Thursday on Geeks and Gamers Tabletop, but this is a codex, right? This is everything you need to know how to play your army, how to play the Dark Angels army. Also, it gives you a lot of their lore. It gives you all of the lore you really need to know, like inside of the book. Like that's what all of these first pages are, is just nothing but Lorehammer. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Your average. Look at the art.
Nice
like,
big old
let
me. Oh my God.
So that is a Tyrannid. Let me see if I can see the picture. That is a Tyrannid, one of the big hive mind guys, and that's the Raven Wing, or not Raven Wing. The whatchamacallit. I'm having a brain fart all of a sudden. I'll have to look in here, but it's basically Raven Guard. Yes. Or is Raven Guard the whole, it's Raven Wing, because Raven Guard is a whole nother legion. But this is their Raven Wing. These are the guys on bikes. These are the guys that like to go fast and fly, and they're coming in and smashing the living shit out of all of the Tyrannids. Is what's going on. They're having a big Tyrannid fight on that one. I think it actually probably says down here on the bottom. That's just Lionel Johnson talking about all that, but yeah, it's got those guys in here. But there's also just like the guys right that you can see right here in the big kind of like whitish armor. Those are Terminators, and normally all the Dark Angels are green, but they're flying and their bike guys all wear black, and then all of their Terminators are in like kind of like a whitish, almost like a ivory kind of color armor, and then with green accents. And but yeah.
So I guess we should probably start with just kind of a well, real quick. Office Girl does have a comment here for you. I don't know much, but I thought the women in that world fill a lot of other roles. There's a whole world, like for example, the Adeptus Sororitas, the battle,
Sisters of Battle. Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the things, and that's always everybody in the Warhammer community. That's the thing is, yeah, Raven Wing is what it is. That's what Raven Wing of the Black Knights. Those are the guys that I was showing off in the picture on the bikes and in the planes. But yeah, that's one of the things is, and that's always what people, and like you said, like what Matt was talking about, the woke tourists, the woke hammer tourists ad nauseum. Those are the people that try to come in and say that. And like, look, you've already got Sisters. Yeah, right here, Sisters of Battle. Oh, that's an okay picture. I'll find a good one. But the Sisters of Battle are one of the greatest fighting forces out there, and it makes sense. The Sisters of Battle are like total badasses because they're imbued with the Emperor's power. They've been blessed by the Emperor. They're initially called like wives of the Emperor. Oh man, these Google search results suck. I've got a much better picture of them somewhere in all of my stuff. But yeah, they are imbued with godly power, so it makes sense that they're like super overpowered and stuff like that, and they're trained. They're all like, it all makes sense. But the thing about it is that's what they'll try to come in and go, well, you need female space rooms. No, we don't. You already have the Sisters of Battle. Plus, there's a lot of other badass females inside of the Warhammer 40K universe, and it's fucking tourists that come around wanting to try to add that shit in, and it's just like, no, we don't need that. We don't need any of that nonsense. We have our girls. So you got something to say. Go ahead.
So then I guess to start to unpack a little bit,
so do you want me to give you a brief overview of Warhammer 40K?
Oh, yeah. We'll
go ahead.
We'll cover just some really basics just to kind of start to get into it. Yeah, so it's the what 41st or 42nd millennium at this point.
Right. So at this point it's the 42nd millennium. This is a really good badass picture. Hold on, I'll show you this. Well, let me see. Man, they made it small because it went from the wiki, but I can make it big on the wiki. All right, here we go. I'm going to show you guys this one. This is a really badass picture. Now, this isn't the most. There's a much more attractive pictures of these Sisters of Battle, but this one's kind of a good mix of badass and smoking hot lady at the same time. But yeah, that's kind of like the Sisters of Battle in a nutshell, right? Like they're a total badass fighting force.
So couple of basics that is certainly, as far as I know, humanity is at war with everyone because every other alien species around us is so terribly oppressive that humanity has had to become extremely authoritarian, because the only way you could possibly survive in this world is by being the complete badasses that have to go and genetically augment humans or men into these 7 foot tall, gods among men.
More like 8 to 10 feet tall, depending on which one it is. I think the tallest one we've got is the head of the space sharks, and I believe he comes in around 15 feet. He's the largest. His regular space marine armor wouldn't fit him, so they actually had to customize Terminator armor, which is the much bigger, bulkier armor, and even the Terminator armor wasn't big enough for him. They had to modify it in order to actually fit him properly because he's so fucking big. But yeah, so basically, this is what happened: is there's a premise in it. There was a great war that happened in the past, and essentially, it's like a lot of other stories are, because this is one of the things you learn about Warhammer 40K is they rip off everybody. Okay. I mean, they have literally ripped off absolutely everyone. So when I tell you this premise, you're going to go, oh, I recognize this. So in the ancient history of Warhammer 40K, so it's basically a universe that's slightly off of Terra. Basically prior to our modern era, our history is pretty much identical, right? They just call it Terra, which is Earth, which is basically Earth, their version of Earth, right? It's where all of humanity came from. It's where the birth of humanity started from, all of that kind of stuff. So they call it Holy Terra a lot of the time in the modern Warhammer 40K areas because that's where everything came from. Well, there was a big war. They got really advanced technologically. They were able to cross through space and time really easy through this area called the warp, which is essentially the warp. Essentially, is kind of like a counter space. Initially, it was just kind of like an alter space that you could basically cross space and time through faster. You could navigate through the warp. Well, because of massive amount, the warp is a place that is nothing more than all living beings' emotions go to the warp. Right. And most of the time when you die, that's where your soul goes, depending on certain factors. And we can get into that more depth at another time. But needless to say, eventually humanity got into this massive war. There was a war in heaven among a bunch of elder gods way back in the war. And the warp ended up getting, warped. It literally got filled with all the negative, evil emotions of humanity. And thus there were chaos gods, birth, and all of this other kind of nonsense. Well, way back in the day on good old Terra, back in like the shaman days, the shamans saw this vision, and there's what inside the Warhammer 40K universe, there's these things called psychers, which are basically they're their versions of psychics, except with like telekinesis and fire bending powers and all kinds of crazy shit, right? Pretty much anything you've seen in a TV show, there's a psyker that can do it. But all of the shamans saw this vision of all of this terrible future that was going to come and all of this kind of horrible things that were going to happen. The humanity was going to be wiped out because there was this evil inside of the warp that was eating the shaman's souls. Before, the shamans always regenerated. They would always reincarnate and come back and continue leading their people across the entire planet. Well, at some point they stopped reincarnating because their souls were getting eaten in the warp by these giant space demons. And so what they ended up doing is they all banded together, and they basically considered mass. We're on YouTube, aren't we? They basically had a mass. What was the name of one of those camps that did all of that kind of stuff? But either way, they all drank Jonestown. There you go. They all drank Kool-Aid together at the exact same time. Let's put it that way. And but they all did this intentionally because the idea was that they were going to funnel all of their power into the warp at the exact same time and create this super being, combine all of their souls into one and create this super being. And then that super being would be able to push back against, survive the warp, and then be reincarnated. So that all of that is to tell you that the single most important person and the one thing that has shaped the entire future of humanity and the entire Warhammer 40K universe is the Emperor of Mankind. And according to now, there's some arguments now, but the only actual lore we have says that this was the birth of the Emperor of Mankind. He is a perpetual, which means he lives forever. He cannot die. He heals from injuries. And he's also the most powerful psyker the universe has ever seen. I mean, this guy could literally, he can walk. There you go. That's Big E. That's the Big E. He can literally walk up against like the biggest, baddest demon in the world and just like look at him, and the demon would instantly get perma-killed. Like his demonic form would be destroyed from the very warp, and he would not be able to reincarnate or reform himself. Like that's the kind of level of power this guy is. It's so mind-boggling. So the Emperor of Mankind knows his purpose. He stays kind of quiet in the universe, in the history of humankind, just kind of helping out here and there. You don't really know a lot about him. You don't really hear a lot about it. But then what happens is the technology gets too advanced, right? What do we end up facing off when every major technology gets advanced? What's the one argument every dystopian universe, every future story has to deal with? Alien? Artificial intelligence.
Oh, right. Those two.
So we didn't have a problem kicking all the rest of the aliens' asses, although it did make us kind of xenophobic because of some of the stuff that happened. So like the human race is very xenophobic because of all of the horrible things that they've seen aliens perpetuate onto the human race. And so a big AI war happens. There's not a lot of information that's known about this time period. A lot of it's been erased. But essentially this breaks all communication in the universe. It breaks it to where you can no longer travel warp space because they don't have the AIs that are smart enough to do all the calculations now. So basically Earth turns into an apocalyptic war land, and then a war place, and all of the planets are separated. So it used to be there was this great human empire that stretched across the entire galaxy, and we conquered all these planets with all this technology and all this other stuff. Well, when the AI war happened, all of that went poof, and the planets couldn't contact each other anymore. Some of them, like Terra, ended up just nuking itself to death. You ended up having a world with a bunch of crazy warlords and all that kind of shit. Well, this is when the Emperor finally shows back up. He reunites Earth. He creates the first version of this. He creates the very first Space Marines, soups them all up to all hell, which the very first Space Marines are my personal army, my favorite Legion, the Dark Angels. These were the very first Space Marines. These are the first Legion, is the very first Space Marines. And from there, it just kind of goes on. They basically try to reconquer the galaxy. They try to reunite the human empire. They go out, they kill a bunch of aliens, and they reconquer a bunch of planets. And there's a whole bunch of other Space Marine factions. There was 20 Primarchs that resulted in 18 legions. And there's a reason behind that, but I won't get into the details right now. But yeah, that's essentially where we're at. We're trying to reconquer the galaxy and all kinds of other shit. Go ahead, Ironcaster.
I was a point out. Yeah, because like there's two of them. We just like as I understand it, Games Workshop is like, no, they're gone. That's gonna be a forever mystery. We're not gonna talk about that.
Oh, the two missing Primarchs. Yeah, the two that were erased from history. Those they are very rarely mentioned. Like Malachi the Sigilite, which is essentially the Emperor's right-hand man. It was funny because he looks like this frail old man. And of course, the Space Marines are these giant hulking guys, right? And then the Primarchs are a size above them, right? Well, one of the main Primarchs, Horus, and if you've heard anything about the Horus heresy, he's the one that kicks all of that off, right?
Yeah, and
Horus goes up against Malachi because the statues of the Primarchs that are lost are covered up and they're not mentioned. And Horus tries to say something in front of Malkador about him and is going to go up and like talk about him and like smash the statue. And Malkador is such a powerful psyker that like Horus tried to slap him and Malachi got up and literally just with his mind force shoved Horus into a fucking concrete wall and was like, I told you we're not mentioning them. And like, it's just like after everybody was like, don't fuck with Malachi. Like, don't fuck. And like Horus is the only one that ever tried stepping to him. But yeah, like that's the whole thing with the lost Primarch. So nobody knows what happened to him. We're probably never going to know. That's one of the great mysteries. One of the things you will learn about 40K is there is a lot of mysteries. Everything is canon and nothing is canon is how Warhammer 40K works.
In fact, they say this very conversation is canon.
Yeah, to a certain degree it is, because this is one of the things is like they'll have things go away. Like one of the prime examples was the Space Dwarves, which is called the Leagues of Votan, right? The Space Dwarves.
Didn't they like just bring them back this past year or so?
Yeah, I think it was last year that they brought them back. It was 2022 is when they finally brought the Leagues of Votan back. And though nobody's seen those guys since like 3rd edition. You know, we're talking like late 80s, early 90s is like the last time we saw the Space Dwarves. And just like, and everybody's like, oh, well, they're not canon anymore, yada, yada, yada. And that's one of Game Workshop's favorite things to do is like people will start screaming on message boards that this, that, and the other's not canon anymore. And Games Workshop will just be like, hey, by the way, here's the Leagues of Votan. Here's a codex. Yeah, the Space Dwarves are back. They're about to kick some ass. You know, like it's like they do that shit all the time.
And Games Workshop can sit back and laugh knowing, oh, these guys are going to buy it just to complain about it.
Oh, hands down. And that's one of the other things. Games Workshop is this is one of the reasons why I got into Warhammer. Because you asked me earlier, what got me into Warhammer, right? Yeah. I'd always been curious about Warhammer, but I'd always been kind of on the outside. I saw some of the stuff, but I'd heard so many people go, oh my God, the lore's so in depth. Like it's a lot to get into. It's really an expensive hobby. They call it plastic crack for a reason, and stuff like that. So it's like one of those, it just kind of seemed like too much of a daunting task. Well, then after we lost Henry Cavill as Superman and we knew he wasn't ever coming back, when I heard that Henry Cavill had complete and total control over the Warhammer 40K television series and potentially 2 movies, I went, my desk raised 3 inches. Let's just put it that way. I was very excited. And I was like, and because Henry's girlfriend is actually is his agent, and she's actually the one that negotiated the deal. So he has this complete and total control because everybody's like, oh God, Amazon's putting it out. I'm like, wait, stop. Amazon is distributing it. Henry Cavill and Games Workshop are creating it. Hey, Jacob. Good to see you, buddy.
Real quick, let me get a couple of these comments here. Kind of
absolutely.
Matt says, like I said, Space Marines give me a serious has Zaku vibes. Not to mention the storytelling and world building reek of Dune and 5-star stories with some hints of Macross too. And yeah, by and large, because so much of this is an amalgamation of other things that it's going to inevitably kind of work in. I mean, one of the things I was just kind of reading up on, because I think it's such a fascinating idea, is this idea of the noise marines, of all things, basically being 80s glam rock metal meshed together with the corrupted Emperor's Children.
Yeah, I don't know if the Noise Marines are actually canon or if that's a fan army. I can't remember.
Well, no, that was something from like Rogue Trader.
Oh, those ones. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
yes. The Rogue Trader. Yeah, you're talking about the Rogue Trader days. Okay, I know exactly which ones you're talking about. Yeah, because I remember the models with the big speakers and shit. Yeah.
And that's the thing I love about this, as I'm kind of starting to get into it, as I'm starting to delve into a bit. There's always a new little avenue of something I want to go check out. I'm like, yeah, I absolutely want to go check out the Necrons, who, by the way, are my favorite of the Xeno armies, just because I love the idea of these giant Egyptian robot skeletons who've been around for like millennia, and just they took a long nap and they woke up, and now like all these kids are on their lawn and they're pissed off.
That's actually a pretty good description of the Necrons. Yeah, they're essentially Egyptian space zombies is essentially what they are. And they've got a very tragic backstory as well. If you ever really want to dig into the Necron lore, there's some great, I can direct you into some great channels. I know I will eventually get to Necrons over on G&G Tabletop's channel. If you do want like a bigger explanation of like the history of Warhammer 40K and the in-depth and some more in-depth details about the Emperor and his life, I do already have 2 videos over on G&G Tabletop going over both of those things, like an intro to Warhammer. And it was initially, the plan was all of our videos were supposed to be between 8 to 12 minutes long. And most of us that have done like any kind of in-depth lore videos outside of just like a single character inside of D&D, they've all turned into like 20 to 25 minute videos. Yeah. Right. I did pull off an 11-minute one on Saturday, though. Go ahead.
There you go. Office Girl asks, are the aliens just dicks, or do they want Terra?
Well, that depends on which alien species you're talking about, because every faction in Warhammer 40K has a different agenda. Like the Tyranids are basically nothing more than an all-consuming hive mind that just wants to eat matter. Like they can even eat. Yeah, biomass. Thank you, biomass. But we've even seen them consume sometimes like metal and stuff like that before too. But yeah, they mostly consume biomass. They've got a hive mind. Their only goal in the universe is to conquer and take over and eat more biomass and expand themselves out. Right. So obviously, yeah, they want to eat Terra. They want to kill everybody. And then you've got the Eldar, which are essentially space elves. And you've got 3 different factions of those. You've got the Dark Elves, which are worshippers of Slanesh, basically a god of pleasure and pain and like basically extreme emotions, right? Anything that would get you an endorphin trip, which pain does get you an endorphin trip, FYI. That's why you girls like to be spanked. So they go all the way to the extreme. So their only goal is debauchery and to keep Slanesh from eating their souls. So yeah, they'll kill whoever they need to. They do raiding parties where they go out and they just capture slaves to bring back to torture and do all kinds of horrible things too. And then the craft world Eldar, they're just trying to survive. Like their species has been devastated because of this demon Slanesh. Like she wiped out like 99% of their population just by consuming all their souls when she was born. So like they're just trying to survive basically, but sometimes they help out with the humans. Certain humans get along with them, like the Ultramarines. Their Primarch generally has worked with Eldar space elves before. Also, the Inquisition, depending on what section of the Inquisition, they actually work with the Eldar. Most of the time, they're working with the Eldar to fight Chaos, which is like really the big bad in the universe. Like you can argue that it's either Tyranids or Chaos who are the really big bad, but Chaos is essentially hell and all of its demons trying to take over the universe. But then you've got the Tau Empire, which they're a bunch of communist. They initially everybody thought Tau were the good guys because of their greater good. Well, it turns out the only reason they listen to everybody, the reason they listen to their overlords and their society works so functionally is because they're all actually brainwashed and being mind controlled. And the only reason we found out about that is there's a certain section of the Tau that got separated away from their overseers. Their overseers got killed while they were off planet. And boy, then all of a sudden they didn't agree with the overseers anymore. And so now they're their own independent thing. And their goal is basically just to convert everybody into what their religion called the greater good is. And then obviously Necrons, they just want to kick everybody's ass and retake the universe. And then I think that's all of the actual major alien races that you can play as.
You've forgotten everyone's favorite Xeno race. Everyone's favorite Cockney speaking race. The orcs.
Oh yes, fuck! How did I forget the orcs? Jesus, how did I forget the orcs? Yeah, the big green bastards and the orcs. The orcs are literally the orcs were created by the Eldar as strictly nothing more than a fighting machine. So they were created during the Great War, and orcs they just want to get into a fight. They just want to smash things and take shit. That's all they want to do. A lot of people consider them the most pure because it's just their instincts that cause them to do this kind of thing. They were literally designed to do this. There are some orcs that have been known to be sadistic, so don't think they're the good guys just because they only strive on instinct. They have gone out of their way. Certain orcs have gone out of their way to intentionally just torture people. So it's like, but they're mostly just want to, and the orcs have this really incredible power of belief. So they can smash weapons. They can smash machines together that should not work, and they just do. Like there's a classic example of these orcs are driving down the road in this truck, and there's 3 of them. And one of them goes, I think we ran out of gas. And all of a sudden the truck starts to sputter and start, and it comes to a stop. And he goes, no, it's not. He's like, I filled it up before we left. He's like, no, you didn't. He's like, yes, I did. And one of them bonks one over the head. He goes, yes, he did. And all of a sudden the truck fires up and keeps driving. So it's like they can't like affect major aspects, but they can get their machines to work. They have enough of a natural psychic ability to will their machines to work, and they can make some epic machines. So they just basically want to battle and conquer everything. And they're a spore. They're a fucking fungus, literally.
It's something I've described to friends as weaponized stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They have absolutely mastered weaponized stupid, but the problem is they don't realize that they're under the effect.
Yeah, and one of the big things you'll see with the orcs, and if you meet or you hang out with any orc player, the one thing you'll hear is "Wah!"
Yep.
Which is essentially not only is it their war cry, but it's actual to a certain degree. Yes, there you go. There's one of their giant mechs right there. And like you said, it
big
looks like
stompa.
Yeah, big stompa. And they smash it all together with different parts. That's why it looks so brutal like that. But the wog is what happens when enough of them get riled up into a fighting frenzy. It essentially makes them stronger, faster. Their little wog power that keeps all their machines running. It gives them the ability to create things like the big stomper that we just saw. And like they're I think the biggest stomper I've ever heard of described in Warhammer 40K lore was the size of one of like the space cathedrals. It was literally like 100 stories tall. Like this thing was fucking huge. But yeah, they only really took it out by taking out the leader of the orcs, and it kind of dwindled the wog, and it kind of brought their power level down, and the thing just kind of started. Yeah, and they blew the shit out of it. But prior to that, it was basically invulnerable. But yeah, they're certainly crazy. A lot of people are orc players. A lot of people love their orcs. They don't care if orc players aren't there to win tournaments. Orc players play because they love playing orcs, and they love the idea of the orcs. And a lot of people love the orcs. Are fun. The lore is not all that deep on the orcs because they don't really speak proper English. They don't speak Gothic. They have certain words that sound just like low Gothic, and they mean the same. But as far as like an actual language of speech, they don't really have like a proper communication very well. It's very rare. You do occasionally get a smart orc, and then orcs have weird boys too. So they have their own version of psychers. So yeah, the orcs are cool.
Yeah, no, it's one of the I think the more fun factions from what little bit I've kind of gotten into learned is like you want them there just so you have something you can go and just beat the snot out of, and they're having fun the entire time. You look at them, they're like, yeah, whatever, we need to have a V12 on this we get back to crumping.
Yeah, because that's all they want to do. They want to smash things and have fights. And the thing about the orcs is like everybody laughs at them and thinks about it, but when you read some of the novels, you read some of the stories, and like orcs are a serious threat, man, because their aim is horrible, but they will literally you can cut one practically in half. Actually, you can cut one in half. I just remember that you can cut one in half, and their upper torso will still try to get you and kill you. Like it's fucking crazy.
You just get enough of them to convince him that it's basically just a paper cut, and he'll keep going. No,
has nothing to do with that. It's because they are literally aggression and rage incarnate is what they are. When they get into a battle frenzy, they are literally rage and aggression incarnate. Like one of the fun stories about him, Caiaphas Cain if you want to read some, if you want to get a really easy, yeah, those are some of the mega stompers I'm talking about.
I think I know the story you're going to mention. But
so yeah,
please
so Caiaphas Cain, I just got done reading this one. So Caiaphas Cain is a commissar, which a commissar is basically kind of like if you're in the military and you know what a warrant officer is, they're kind of like that. They're out of the chain of command, but they're also above. Commissars are actually above everyone in the chain of command, technically. They try not to abuse their power, at least the smart ones don't, which is Commissar Cain. So Commissar Cain has this really great story where there's this one orc that he runs across, and it's called The Only Good Orc is actually the name of the short story. And what ends up happening is it's the Caiaphas Cain is trying to clear out an infestation of, it was either it was gene stealers. There's a commissar. That's a commissar. But that's a commissar, chainsword and a bolter in hand. But so he was trying to clear out an infestation of gene stealers, which are the Tyranids bitches, is what the gene stealers are. And there's all of these gene stealers are coming over this wall, and it's him and this orc getting ready to fight at each other. And Caiaphas looks at the orc and goes, "First them, then you and me." And the orc looks at him and goes, because you can see all these gene stealers, a whole bunch. There's like a whole, like 15 or 20 of them just coming at him. And the orc looks at him and he looks back and he goes, "First them, then you." And so like he gets the orc to help him fight the gene stealers. And like at one point you think the orc's dead. And then like towards the end of the story, all of a sudden this orc pops up out of nowhere and he's getting ready to get Caiaphas. He's getting ready to get Cain. And then more gene stealers come out and he's like, "No, we got to get them first." And the orc's like, "Huh." And it's fucking great, dude. But yeah, that's orcs in a nutshell. And yeah, there you go.
Yep. So. Okay. Real quick, we might want to clarify briefly.
Sure.
Office Girl asks, so dumb question, is everyone all up in this armor, or are they just regular sized people like that just like run a food stand? Okay, yeah. So there are regular troopers, the guardsmen. The thing is, like, the Space Marines are like, what I think it's say, wait, 1 in 1,000 people can become a space.
Oh,
or something.
I think it's 1 in 10,000 for Space Marines. And the numbers used to be worse back in the day, but because the population's a lot healthier now, kind of, it's a little easier to find people that are genetically built to be Space Marines. Because that's the thing. It's not everyone can be a Space Marine. You can't just take any Joe Smo. You know, they have to be very well, they have to have their DNA has to be basically perfectly intact. Like they can't have any problems. They can't have any flaws genetically. They have to be like the top 1% of mankind in order to be eligible to be a Space Marine. So no, there's normal people, there's normal guardsmen running around. You can play as guards, but if you're talking just in the lore, yeah, there's every kind of job you can imagine exists inside the lore. The only difference is most people don't get to choose their job. It's a little bit more of a caste system depending on the planet you're on. Every planet also operates a little different. Basically, every planet operates its own self as long as they pay the imperial tithe, because it's all a religion to them. They worship the emperor as the god emperor now of mankind. So it's a tithe, just like you would do at a church. As long as the planet pays their tithe and isn't obviously infested by chaos or xenos, the empire basically leaves them alone. The empire of mankind basically leaves them alone. So yeah, there's like pleasure planets that are like oases. And so, yeah, if you get lucky enough to be born on a pleasure planet, you probably have the best life in the world. There's other places that are called hive worlds, which basically their only purpose is to supply bodies. They're giant hive worlds where people just live and work and produce babies. And that's where a lot of the main armies come from and stuff like that. So yeah, there's people that just run like food stands and stuff like that as well. Especially once you get into the lore, you'll run across bartenders and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, and that's a nice Dark Angel too. Look at that. That's sexy. Good armor.
Yeah, this is about what you would expect for probably the average sort of size comparison. Because like when a normal person becomes a Space Marine, they get like seriously bulked up.
Oh yeah, they get huge. Yeah. Like, the Space Marine thing, it can vary by Space Marine, like I said earlier, but yeah, they get a lot bigger. Their bone density gets stronger. Their muscle mass gets a lot bigger. They grow taller. They have like a whole bunch of extra organs. I think it's like 22 different organs that they get installed throughout the process of becoming a Space Marine. Most people do not survive becoming a Space Marine. Even though it's like the top 1% of humanity. Well, the top 1% of that section of humanity actually survives and makes it through the trials of becoming a Space Marine.
All right. So, Space Marines, we have all these different factions of the Space Marines. aside from your Dark Angels, what are one or two of the other notable factions that you think stand out that people would maybe be interested in? Because
So
there's a couple I've gotten to learn about. Like, I'm kind of interested in a couple of the some of the ones who have fallen to chaos. I think are really fascinating to look into. But let's stick with those still faithful.
Yeah, there you go. The loyalists. Yeah. So versus the traitors. Yeah. I would say the ones that everybody are going to know the most are always going to end up being the blue Smurfs, which is kind of like a fun little joke inside the inside the Warhammer 40K, which those are the Ultramarines. They are the ones that you see painted blue. They are I think they might technically outnumber the size of the Dark Angels, but it also kind of just depends on what war they fought in last. Depends on who's still got the biggest legion. But the Ultramarines are by far probably the biggest legion and the most well known. Those are the guys that you'll see painted in blue. Their Primarch is Roberto Gilliman. He actually just recently came back from the dead. A few years ago, he was technically in stasis. He wasn't actually dead, but they had to revive him. And that's a very interesting story. But yeah, the Ultramarines are probably the ones that know the best. They're generally considered everybody's favorite. Yeah, there you go. They're the ones that are generally considered the Emperor's favorite. They're the most effective. Their Primarch is very analytical. He's not like a great warrior, but he's really good at organizing things. And if you're gonna fight a long campaign, you need to have somebody that knows how to run supply lines. So it's like that would be the other ones. The big Ultramarines, those are the ones that everybody knows the best. They became a favorite for very fast. Most people that get into Warhammer, that's who, and a lot of them end up starting with, and then they end up getting into other things and stuff like that. I think the other one that would probably be the most fascinating and probably the one that's been talked about the most as well would be the Salamanders, I believe. They are the fire guys. And their Primarch is a perpetual as well, which means he's an immortal. He's went through some absolute hell, but they are, let me see if I can, it might not be the Salamanders. What's the name of it? Let's see here. Fire Marine.
I mean, to be fair, there's like so many different factions.
There's 18 different legions of Space Marines just alone. No, not the Firehawks. Damn it, I didn't get specific. Salamanders. Yeah, it is the Salamanders. Yeah, the Salamanders. Yeah, those are the fire guys. But yeah, the Salamanders are really cool. Their Primarch is a perpetual. They're what you could be considered the I would say the most nice guys because the thing about Warhammer 40K is it's grimdark, right? Everybody's at war. It's constant fighting. Nobody's really a good guy. Everybody does evil shit in order to save their own ass, in order to save their own faction. But the Salamanders are a little bit different. They're considered the nice guys. Most of the time when you become a Space Marine, you get completely cut off from your family. Some of the legions even wipe your memories. And so a lot of them are very cut off from their families, whereas the Salamanders are very different. The Salamanders, the Space Marines actually get to go back and visit their families after they become full-fledged Space Marines. They're very encouraged to, yeah, there you go. There's our green Salamander boys. They have a big, as you can tell, they have a big thing for fire. Vulcan is the name of their Primarch. They all have very dark, is the name of their Primarch. Yeah, Vulcan. Yeah. They're all very dark and ashen of skin. And it's not because they're black. Even though that's what a lot of people say, it's actually because of their homeworld, the planet that they grow up on, which I think is actually also named Vulcan, if I remember correctly, is very volcanic, and it turns their skin dark and ashen looking and stuff like that. And that also the process of becoming a salamander, doesn't matter what color you were going in, you all end up looking like your Primarch coming out, which Vulcan is a very dark. Yeah, there you go. There's a decent, that's not a bad picture of Vulcan. He's more bald nowadays, but yeah, that's what, I don't know if that's actually supposed to be Vulcan or not, but that's what all of their skins look like. So they're not really black. They're more of like gray and kind of ashen and stuff like that. And there's some pictures of Vulcan that he looks a little darker in and stuff like that, but they're the fire boys. They love setting things on fire. They love the heavy melters. That basically shoot out giant liquid fire plasma. They essentially shoot lava out of the end of these guns. Yeah, there's Vulcan. But like that's always been kind of the running gag is that the Salamanders are the nice guys. Those are the nice Space Marines. They help out. They won't sacrifice civilians. They will always try to save civilians. And that's what their Primarch's known for. Vulcan's just like the nicest guy. Everybody loves him. Except for one of his brothers who, because he's a perpetual, one of his brothers that fell to chaos, tortured him for quite a long time and like innumerably killed him and brought him back alive again just so he could torture him again. He was trying to break Vulcan. He was trying to get Vulcan to go crazy like him, and Vulcan wouldn't do it. Vulcan literally, Vulcan, one of the tortures that his brother put him through was Vulcan had to grab this, had these like straps strapped around his back. And he was having to hold up a rock, and he was in a chamber, and he could see the glass on the other side of the chamber, and he could see these civilians, and they were under this giant rock. And the only thing preventing that giant rock from coming down and crushing them was Vulcan holding it there. Right. And so eventually he can't hold it forever. You know what I mean? But it's one of the funny parts is Vulcan is so dedicated to no matter what trying to save these people. It would have actually been nicer to the people if Vulcan would have just let it drop at once and kill them quickly. It actually ended up killing them slower by him doing this, but it was because no matter what, he has to try to save them. That's the kind of person Vulcan is. And all Space Marines take the majority of their attributes from their Primarch. There's a couple exceptions to the rule, but the majority of the time, if your Primarch acts a certain way, that's how all of his Space Marines act. And so that's why the salamanders are known as like some of the nicest guys. And if you like fire and setting things on fire and shooting things with big old melters, you're going to like the salamanders. They're a cool team. They're a cool team.
Because, I inevitably looking through it, I'm like, which of these factions do I like? And I'm like, I kind of like some of them. Like what's up with the Iron Fist over here? These dudes are all about like adding in a lot of the modern tech into themselves. Oftentimes, like replacing limbs.
Weak.
Yes,
the flesh is weak.
So you wind up with like these guys, but then you add on like extra augmented cybernetic eyes and giant like you're already talking like an 8-foot superhuman who's now augmented himself cybernetics. Now we're talking even more massive. Like holy crap, these guys are awesome.
Yeah, and then you've got those kind of guys. And then you've got you've got those, and then the Iron Hands are like a version of the Iron. They're like an option. Well, they were both created at the same time, but the Iron Hands got obsessed with mechanizing their bodies and basically becoming cyborg Space Marines, whereas the I think it was the Iron Fists, they're yellow, and they're all about building giant muscles and stuff like that. And they're okay. Space Wolves, is this who you're bringing up?
Oh no, this is I think Iron Hands.
Oh, is that an Iron Hand? Okay, cool. Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that from all the stuff on their back. Yeah, and then they've got the cog wheel. Yeah, because these guys were very close with the Mechanicus, which the Mechanicus are essentially they make all of the tech in the universe, and they're the only ones allowed to do a lot of that kind of stuff. And they've turned into complete and total religious psychos. They actually worship what they call their machine god, which is a divine. They view the Emperor, the
Omnissiah.
Yes, praise be the Omnissiah. The Omnissiah, they believe the Primarch is actually they believe the Emperor is actually the Omnissiah incarnate, because he is able to fix things just by touching them that they couldn't fix, that they couldn't even get to figure out how to work. So that's how the Emperor gained their favor and got them to fall in line with him. So technically Mars and the Mechanicus are still independent and don't actually answer to the Imperium of Mankind. But yeah, no, they listen to what the Emperor says, even though he's eviscerated corpse on the golden throne now. But that's a Horus Heresy story.
Yeah, which is, oh my god, it is a mass. It's like what, 30 or 40 books for the
it's not done overall. It's not done. I think we're
it's not done.
No, it's not done. I think we're at like book 18 right now or something like that. But yeah, no, it's not done. Has
he committed the heresy yet?
No, that actually hasn't been written in the book. So we know what happens, right? The Horus Heresy is an event that has already happened in the Warhammer 40K universe, right? Like they talk about it in every codex. And so you get the general overview of what happened and what Horus did and everything else. But yeah, the devil's in the details. They haven't gotten all the details written out yet. And honestly, it's one of those things. There's where the actual scene with Emperor and the Horus and what's the other name of that Primarch? That other Primarch's name, the Angel one. I'm having a brain fart.
Fulgrim.
Fulgrim's the evil one that tortured Vulcan. Fulgrim's the one that fell to Slanesh. He's an evil, sick, twisted bastard. He actually, oh man, there's some stories I could tell about Fulgrim that probably YouTube wouldn't like. But hey, people make videos about it and tell you all the stories. So those guys seem to be doing okay with all of that. But yeah, Fulcrum's a fucked up bastard. Holy shit. Like, oh my god, that's
Here, we'll just
chaos.
pull this up.
All right, so this is the epic scene of the Horus Heresy, right? This is so to give you a brief overview of the Horus Heresy, just to give you kind of, because this is a major factor, and everybody that wants to get involved in Warhammer 40K, you're going to find out about this. So essentially, Horus is the big guy in the black armor you can see, and obviously the shining golden armor, that is the Emperor of Mankind. And so Horus got corrupted by Chaos, which Chaos are the evil demonic forces, right? Now, there's arguments to be made that it wasn't Horus's fault, but it turns out it was, because Horus got the truth revealed to him by one of his brother Primarchs and still chose to follow Chaos anyway and take down the Emperor. And so Horus was initially, he was considered the greatest warrior out of all of them. Although there's some arguments to be made that Lionel Johnson is actually a better, the Primarch of my Dark Angels is actually a better fighter, and we might eventually find that out. Horus was the war master. He was in charge of all of the armies. The Emperor went back to Earth, Terra, to work on his Webway project that would get them off not having to use the warp anymore and not have to deal with all the demons and all of that kind of stuff. But they still need to be able to travel through space. Well, a lot of the Space Marines kind of felt abandoned, especially some of the Primarchs, when the Emperor went back to Terra instead of leading them from the front like he was before during the Great Crusade. Well, Horus ends up taking his place. Everybody loves Horus. He's very charismatic, all of that kind of stuff. But Horus eventually gets seduced by the powers of chaos through a few different things that happen to him. And he decides to plot against the Emperor. And he ends up corrupting a bunch of the other legions, corrupts some of his fellow brother Primarchs, and essentially goes to war against the Emperor. And they have this one thing that kind of set off the Horus Heresy, and it's called the Van Drop Site Massacre. I might be getting the first part of that wrong, but it's the Drop Site Massacre that happened. And essentially they were supposed to be going in there to face off against some demonic forces. And they had like 3 or 4 different legions of Space Marines on there. A couple of them that were loyalists. And then a bunch of the ones that we didn't know at the time were Chaos or Traitor Marines. They were in orbit. And as soon as the couple of legions on the ground of Space Marines started engaging the enemy, they nuked them from orbit. And they were also like killing them on the ground. It was a bloody day, because you had Space Marine fighting against Space Marine, because not all of them there was loyalists in even the corrupted legions. There was still loyalists in every single legion. So one of the things that happened at the Von Drop Site Massacre was they were purging the loyalists from their legions, so they would all be loyal to Chaos. And several of the loyalists got away. There's some great stories about some of the loyalists that actually got away. A lot of the guys, they purged their armor. A lot of the guys would either paint all of their armor black, so that way they would no longer show it. There's actually a whole section of Space Marines that essentially you show up, you paint your armor black, and nobody asks any questions. And so if your legion ever falls to chaos or something like that, or hey, you say you're a traitor Marine that decides I want to be loyal to the Emperor again, they're going to torture you, they're going to test you, but you're going to paint your armor black and continue being a loyal member to a loyal servant to the Emperor. So Horus, gigantic war happens across the universe. Horus sends the Dark Angels literally to the other side of the galaxy in order to prevent them, because that's the one force he's terrified of coming in and just kicking his ass, because he knows not only that Lionel Johnson is a better fighter than him, and yes, I'm going to go ahead and say that Lionel Johnson is a better fighter than him. And he knows that the Dark Angels were the largest Space Marine force outside of the Ultramarines. So he got the Ultramarines split in half and stuck. Needless to say, the Dark Angels, Lionel Johnson, the Ultramarines, everybody get their guys back together. They make their ways to Terra. They kick the living shit out of all, especially once the Dark Angels show up and the Ultramarines show up. Once blue and green's on the ground, dude, they fuck Chaos up. They kick all of these guys' asses. But Horus is up off in this ship, right? And so the Emperor is sitting on the chair of the Golden Throne, because this other thing happened that's causing all these demons to want to come through. But the Emperor has to go and kick Horus's ass. He's the only one that believes he can kick Horus's ass. And Sanguinius, who's the guy laying on the ground, decides to try to go and defeat Horus before the Emperor can get there. Doesn't turn out very well for Sanguinius, as you can tell right here. But before all that happens, the Emperor has to get off the Golden Throne. So Malkadai the Sigillite has to take his place, and it ends up killing Malkador. It ends up killing Malkador, but that gives the Emperor enough time to go kick Horus's ass. And so this scene right here is right when the big E, which is the Emperor, is about to go fucking nuclear on Horus's ass. Because the story goes, because like I said, we don't have this written out in detail in one of the Horus Heresy books goes, but the story goes is the Emperor was holding back fighting against Horus because he didn't want to kill him. Right. He was trying to bring him back. And it wouldn't be the first time. There's actually been several times that the Emperor throughout the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade tried to bring back some of the Primarchs and tried to bring him back to his side, tried to bring them back into the fold. So that was the belief, is he was trying to do that for Horus. Well, as soon as Horus kills Sanguinius, which as far as most people are concerned, Sanguinius was the Emperor's favorite and was the closest to being like the Emperor in a lot of different ways. Once he does that, the Emperor, Big E fucking loses it. Not only does he nuke Horus from orbit, but he literally destroys Horus's soul. Like, he erases him from existence. Horus cannot come back. Although no one Games Workshop, they'll probably come up with something. But as of right now, there has never been any whisper of Horus ever anywhere. Big E wiped his soul out from a universe. So most of the time when you kill somebody who's possessed by a demon, who, like in this case, Horus had become like a demon prince to a certain degree. Normally, if you kill one of those guys, it might take them 1,000 years, or it might take them 500 years in the warp to regrow their body and come back, and then eventually can come back out and keep kicking your ass. What the Emperor did, and what the power of really high level psychers are, is to destroy that soul, destroy your mark from the warp, so you can't come back at all. And so when Horus killed Sanguinius, Big E lost it and literally erased Horus from existence. And yeah, so that's the Horus. And then but at the same time, Horus very severely injured the Emperor. Very, very severely injured the Emperor to a point where the Emperor had lost one of his arms, and is now the emaciated corpse that we see sitting upon the golden throne, continuing to power it. But yeah, it was basically, it would have been considered a mortal blow if it wasn't for the fact that they had to stick him back on the golden throne. And because, if you remember correctly from earlier, which I don't blame if you don't, the Emperor is a perpetual. He can't technically be killed. The problem is because he's sitting on the golden throne, basically keeping the searchlight on for everybody in space to be able to navigate the warp, which is that beacon on Terra that keeps everybody being able to navigate the warp. He has to sit on that. And because it takes so much power for him, and because he's actually still in the warp fighting things in like a disembodied version, it's preventing his body from regenerating. But it's also the only thing that's keeping the whole universe together, because if the Emperor gets off the golden throne and there he is. If the Emperor gets off of the golden throne, then they lose their searchlight, and basically warp travel becomes impossible. Communication between planets becomes impossible. So basically everything goes back to the Dark Ages before the Emperor came around. So you have to, but in order to keep the golden throne powered, you have to sacrifice at least 1,000 psychers a day in order to keep the golden throne powered. So every day there are 1,000 psychers sacrificed, and their essences are absorbed by the golden throne in order to keep him going and keep it powered. Because if we lose the Emperor, we lose the entire galaxy.
Yeah, it is a hell world to live in. Everything gets, you could always sum up the lore with, and then it got worse.
Yep.
It's like you wake up, you're reincarnated. Like, where am I? Oh, I'm in the 40th millennium. Wait, what?
Yes, exactly that. And it's one of those things. A lot of these stories, and a lot of these wars, depending on which one they are, some of these last centuries, right? And some of them can just be one giant epic battle where billions of people are killed. But the Space Marines live long. Like there's never been a Space Marine that they have found die of natural causes. They've all been killed. Like, there's Space Marines that are literally 2,000 years old. And so the Space Marines aren't perpetuals, but we're actually not sure if they can even die of old age or not. Most of the time, they get older and they start slowing down. And then they end up getting killed in battle, because Space Marines, that's their purpose, is to defend humanity against all forces of chaos and any kind of Xeno that would try to attack them. Basically, anybody that wants to fuck with humanity is going to have to go through a Space Marine first, and you are not going to have a good day at all.
Well, Jesse, I want to thank you for coming on and just helping let a lot of this stuff just kind of unfurl out. This has been a lot of fun to get into. I mean, look, we are only just scratching the surface. We have to do this again soon.
Yeah, dude, I can do this for days. We can start talking about chaos and all the crazy stuff in chaos next time.
And I'm going to leave it on about as the more I'm looking into it, it's like the more I'm liking this and that faction. And it's like the one faction I never really had any interest in looking into was the Tau, because it's that whole thing about like whatever, the space communists that everyone become one. But like that little nugget you gave me about this little cut off faction, that gives me something that actually makes me want to look into them. I want to see how that split causes how that little split changes the faction.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be made that they are legitimately the only actual good guys in the entire galaxy, because they're just like, look, we just want to be over here on our planet and be left alone and not be part of the Tau Empire. But if the Tau Empire is getting their ass kicked, we'll show up and help them because they're still our brothers. You know what I mean? And so like that's like, they're the only ones you could argue to say that they're actually legitimately good guys. But the Tau don't have very long lifespans either. That's part of the problem with Tau too.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not like a lot of people have long lifespans in the 40th millennium.
Well, I mean, it just depends. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing too. It also depends on where you're at in society, right? Because if you're somebody that's like a royal, or in the case of Commissar Kane, you get access to rejuvenation treatments, which can make you live much, much longer. And then also there's the help of cybernetics and all that kind of stuff. Like Caiaphas Kane has got like, I think a few of his fingers on one hand. I think his trigger finger on his right hand, two of those got blasted off. So he's got cybernetic attachments for those.
Well, of course, you want to have this. You want to be able to have the trigger finger that'll pull the trigger faster.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. It's actually pretty entertaining. Some of the stories he tells for all that kind of stuff. So Office Girls, like, what planet? Which planet for what? Talking about the planet for rejuvenations. You should trust me. If anything, you want to be born on a pleasure planet or to a royal family. Although there's also a lot of backstabbing that happens in that too. So
I think it's more so like, what is the good planet?
What's the good planet? What is the good planet? I don't know if there's a good planet to live on. The pleasure planets are probably the best ones. Those would be arguably the good planets, because you have what are called death worlds, which aren't necessarily inhospitable to human life. Some of them are just really fucked up, and some of them just have like they're like Australia on steroids. Every creature wants to kill you. That's where that's the Dark Angels, their Primarch Lionel Johnson. That's the world he grew up on, is everything in the forest wants to kill you.
It's like if Florida Man moved to Australia.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. But yes, it matters what planet you live on. Absolutely, it does. Everything matters. What planet you live on, what family you're born into. It's a roll of the dice in the Warhammer universe. Fortunately enough, we don't actually live in that world. We just get to watch it from the outside and check out all the satire that goes with it, because it is some dark satire, man. It is great.
All right. So I don't know if you have if you had to go right now or anything, but if we could wrap down a little bit, we'll hang out, chill a little bit. I don't, just since I was catching the end of your stream there, and you were talking about retro video games, I have something here that I thought you might be a little curious about to check out.
Right.
Have you ever heard of a game console called the Evercade?
I don't think so. It kind of rings a bell, but there's so many of them nowadays too, with so many of the retro gaming systems and everything else, that I'm not entirely sure about that one. It doesn't ring a bell. Anyway, that's for sure.
So the Evercade was, I believe, kickstarted in late 2010s, about 2020-ish.
Oh, okay.
And has actually gone on in the time since to become a fairly successful little console. And what's kind of neat is it does these little cartridges, and they've been put out these little cartridge packs. And I just got this in the mail, but like the stuff you'd be surprised to find out, like can actually find on here, like.
Oh, you get Duke Nukem and shit? Oh, hell yeah. So they must have a deal for the licensing rights for a lot of those games and shit then.
Oh yeah. Like they are getting the license. Like I got 2 of these in the mail. This is 1 and 2 and 3D. And these are just like, let me I haven't even opened one of these up yet. This one up. But it's like, if they are just a little cartridge, HDMI. The nice thing is you can basically plug in about any controller to it and you can map it. So you can, if you like your Xbox controller, you can use it.
Oh, there you go.
And it's just a little cartridge like that.
Oh, dope. That is awesome. It reminds me of the old Sega cartridges. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like even down to like the clamshell case for it.
Yeah, it is. That's the exact old Sega. They probably got a hold of the guy that used to make the Sega cartridges and be like, hey, can we cut you a deal? You still got those molds? Like, that's awesome.
Like,
hell yeah.
Just the idea of a bunch of these and stuff. And yeah, by the way, look at the numbering. 33, 34. Like, yeah, they've been at this a little while.
Dude, they know, well, not only that, but they know their collectors, right? They know their market,
Yes.
they know their customers, because they know people that buy that stuff are collectors, right? Those are the guys that are into that kind of stuff. They're into all that retro stuff and everything else. So yeah. And Matt Dog says Lionel Johnson is starting to become my favorite Primarch big time, especially how Common described him, saying Gwynny's the second for first. Yeah, Lionel Johnson's a lot of people's favorite. Like anything to do with him, because he's an absolute badass. He's extremely honorable, he's extremely noble, and he has a great book that just came out, and I think it's actually called The Lion, and it's how he came back to the Warhammer setting universe, because he got fucked up right after shortly after the Horus heresy, and he's been off the board ever since, and now he's back. And then if you want to know about, if you're into mystery and intrigue and a guy you're not entirely sure if he's lying to you or not the entire time, check out the Cipher book. Oh my god, yeah, that's
oh my god,
that's before he came back. That's how he was in the very beginning, because the Dark Angel's armor used to be black, but when he took over, he had everybody paint it green, and some of them are still like a dark enough green to where it almost looks black. But yeah, he grew up the world that he grew up on. How am I having a brain fart about this all of a sudden? I just did a video over it Saturday, but anyway, the world he grew up on is one of those death worlds that I was talking about. The Forest of Caliban. Caliban is was the name of the planet. Caliban's forests were filled with every creature imaginable that could possibly kill you. And when the Primarchs got scattered across the entire universe by their bitch ass mother and probably a little bit of chaos, he ended up on this planet as a baby Primarch. But he's a fucking Primarch, so it doesn't matter. These monsters couldn't kill him. He just ended up kicking their ass as like a toddler. But he eventually takes over the world, and there's this knightly order on the planet that they are the knightly order that fights back against all these monsters in the forest and stuff like that. And so so that's where all of the dark, once their Primarch comes back and he takes over the Legion, then he actually institutes all of these same kind of rules and regulations that he grew up in this knightly order. So that's why the Dark Angels become much more knightly. You see them become much more knightly after Lionel Johnson comes back. Now, this is what the Lion currently looks like. This is him back from quote unquote the dead, which was actually just stasis below the rock. These two characters next to him are the very interesting ones. And I just had their name on the tip of my tongue, and now I'll remember it here in a minute. But these are the guys. These are the only Xenos that the Dark Angels tolerate. The Watchers in the Dark. These Watchers guys, we have no idea. We know nothing about them other that they only hang out with the Dark Angels. They will sometimes give hints to the leaders of the Dark Angels, telling them, hey, this is what's going on. You need to know about this. They're always there to help, right? And so apparently, and nobody's entirely sure why, but they're super fucking powerful. They can literally just they're like emperor level powerful. Like they can just wipe demons away if they need to. But they don't ever do it. Like demons won't even fuck with them. Like demons see them and they turn and run, which is one of the things that makes them so much more interesting and so much more fascinating. But the Watchers in the Dark are the ones who took the lion's body and moved it into the very depths of the rock, which is the only piece of Caliban that's still left, that they turned into a giant space fortress. Yeah, they do look like Jawas. Absolutely. That's probably where they got the design from. I absolutely guarantee you that's where they got the design from, was from the fucking Jawas. But yeah,
like I'm looking at some of these other images and like, oh, I definitely see the lion in the name. Like, oh my god, he's wearing he's got a giant lion on his chest that he like killed with like his bare hands, and he's got this whole like this cape like made of lions, plural.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he absolutely does. And that's, like I said, that this guy was a big beast hunter is essentially what he was. He was just a big beast hunter, literally on steroids and souped up all the nine ends. But yeah, so he was underneath the rock, and all of a sudden he comes back. And I won't give you the full breakdown on how he comes back. I highly recommend going and reading the book. It's really good. It's very well written. But yeah, the Watchers are part of they kind of help guide him after he comes back. And he comes back with some crazy ass powers too. Like being able to like move around the universe at will. It's weird. And we still don't have all of it fully explained. There's so much more mystery racked up in it. Like the lion doesn't actually know how he came back. It hasn't been fully explained. We know it has something to do with the Emperor and the Watchers in the Dark, but that's really all we fucking know. But the story of the lion coming back and like his first introduction to some of his space marines and stuff like that, like it's incredible, because when after the Horus heresy and what killed the lion, or what got him, mortally wounded, was his Dark Angels were the only ones that were like, they were supposed to be the most loyal. They were the first, right? They were the first Legion. They were the Emperor's babies. They were the Emperor's guys. And what happened was about a good section of their Legion had been corrupted because of a fight between Lionel Johnson and his best friend growing up. They kind of there was some crazy shit that kind of happened, some jealousy and all that kind of stuff. I highly recommend you go look into it. And I will get into that in some lore videos over on Geeks and Gamers Tabletop very shortly. But essentially half the Dark Angels get, probably a third of the Dark Angels get corrupted. Well, this is something that the Empire never, the Imperium of Mankind never finds out about. The Dark Angels hide this secret away. They say it was they said it was something else that blew up it, and that's how their Primarch got injured and all this other kind of stuff. So no, there is no such thing as a fallen Dark Angel. Right. But when the Primarch shows back up, the first Dark Angel he meets is a fallen one. And the meeting is amazing. It's beautifully written. It's a great battle scene. That's one of the things. If you like good battles, you're going to love the Warhammer 40K stuff, because the stories, there's great drama. There's great intrigue. The characters are wonderful. They're very well written. Obviously, I mean, it's kind of like the Star Wars expanded universe, right? Not every book's going to be a winner, but a lot of them are winners. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things about it. I highly recommend go reading that and the Cypher book, because Cypher is Lord of the Fallen, and nobody's really exactly sure whose side Cypher is on. And he won't tell you. The whole book's written from his perspective, like he's narrating and authoring the book, and the whole book goes like this. Now, did I mean for that to happen? How could I have possibly planned all of this out? There's no way I could have known that was going to happen, right? There's no way, and like the whole time you're just like, fuck, Cypher, what the hell is going? There's no way. No, you couldn't have pulled that off. Could I? It's like, oh, it's so good. It's such a good.
I'm gonna have to check this out. I love that. That's smug. I love that idea. There's this smug, confident guy of like, it's like you basically had Urkel write this. Did I do that?
Yeah, that's what it is. Because like there's it's like the whole series of unfortunate events thing. It's like everything. Like there's no way he would have known that those guys were going to do that and end up in that. There's just no way. And well, maybe it just worked out. Who knows? Maybe the Emperor's guiding him. Maybe Chaos is guiding him. Maybe he's just that smart. We just don't know.
The unreliable narrator.
Oh, dude, it's exactly what he is. And the book opens up telling you that. He's like, the truth isn't what's important. He's like, it's more like it's the adventure. It's like how everything happened. You don't want to know the why. You want to know the how. Like, it's like that the entire book. It's so fun.
Are we going to let the truth get in the way of a good story?
Exactly. And like Office Girl says, so many choices of characters. And this is what I always tell everybody. Warhammer 40K, do not try to bite off more than you chew. Do not dive right in and try to consume the whole thing. If you're into, like Ironcaster, he's into big robots and mechas and stuff like that. If you're into that, we've got a whole faction for you, right? That are nothing more than giant mechs and machines with guys that are piloting them and the whole nine, right?
There's like 5 factions. That describes like 5 factions.
Well, but there's a main one. The main ones are the actual, because it's an actual fighting, an army that you can actually fight with. And I cannot remember what the hell they're called right now. Because
the Adeptus Titanicus?
No. The Adeptus Mechanicus is different. Those are all the mech guys. But the Titans. Yeah, the Titans. Those are the guys that actually control the Titans. And the Titans are a whole faction. They're a whole army to themselves. They come in and assist other armies, but they are an army in them to themselves. You can play strictly Titans on there. But yeah, like, so if you're into big robots and stuff like that, you can do that. If you're into like Asian, Chinese space robots and like what literally looks like Gundam, get into the Tau Empire. Literally their shit looks like Gundam suits. But if you like evil sadistic bastards, there's the Dark Eldar, there's the followers of Slanesh. Like, if you want to find a bad guy that you can love, there's several different characters in there. So yeah, it just depends. You want to follow soldiers. You want to follow just basic average guys. You don't want to hear about these giant space marine crazy things. Caiaphas Cain is another one. And Caiaphas Cain's books are funny too. Like, they will make you chuckle. So that Caiaphas Cain is always one of the things that I always say, but just pick a faction. Like, I picked Dark Angels because I like the color green. That's literally the only thing I knew about them before I got into them. And then it turns out I got a really badass Primarch and a bunch of great lore that's been coming out the last couple of years. But just, pick something that looks cool to you and go, I want to learn about that. And then learn everything you can about that. And then go from there. Just start somewhere. Just bite a piece off. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Because like I started looking, I'm like, the last week or so I've been looking at more. I made the mistake. I started looking at the models. I started looking on the website. I'm like, hey, look at this cool Necron fig. Maybe I'll just buy one. Maybe.
I got my guy on a bike right here. Got my Space Marine on a bike right there. All right. I got my little plastic crack right here. And then I got one of the big Ultramarine captains right here. Right. He's even got a little.
I love the look of that. That's big.
And then you mentioned Necron, right? There's you a Necron.
Yeah.
Obviously, I haven't painted them yet. I'm kind of saving them for painting streams, but when I can actually learn to play the game properly, I'm going to start when I get time to actually learn to play the game properly. But I am looking into doing the RPG version called Wrath and Glory. I am thinking about. I'm thinking about trying to get some people together once I get some time, because I want to have a Rudai who is the leader of Geeks and Gamers Tabletop. And this is a guy that can learn any system in about 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Because he's been a professional DM for a long time. And so like people pay him to have him DM their game. So what I want to do is maybe like after tax return season or something like that, me pay for like get like 3 of my friends together and like 4 of us play, and I will pay for like 4 sessions. So that way Rudai can really teach us the system, show us how it works. And then that way I can carry on with it on my own from there. Because there's a lot of really cool options inside of Wrath and Glory to mess with. And I know the setting well enough to where I could tell the story, whereas a Rudai really couldn't tell it the way I could, because I know the setting so much better.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing more about that, and I want to keep in touch. I want to follow with that, and who knows, maybe down the road we could sit down and play, because I'd like to do that. Hell, I would be happy just to hang out and do a paint stream. Let's plan that.
Oh, dude, yes, let's plan a paint, because I have never painted any of this stuff before, so I have no idea where I'm even gonna fucking start. I got a paint kit that I bought from my local, because we actually had a Games Workshop store open early, oh shit, Jesus, don't break it all, Ironcaster. But we just had a Games Workshop store actually open in my city. Like literally, I found out about it like 6 months after I got into Warhammer, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I have a freaking Games Workshop store in my town. This is awesome. So yeah, but I went and bought one of their little
I've just got my primer, my little bottle of primer that was ready in reach. But there you go. Actually, let's do that a little bit. Let's figure out some stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it'll be worth having you hang out with and on stream. Meet the T-shirt historian. The guy's been painting for years.
Oh, there you go.
Fantastic. I stream with him like multiple times a week.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you guys and him get to hang out a lot.
But before we wrap up, there's one last thing I have to ask about, and this is something I have pestered you about on streams before. A little, One Piece.
Yes.
I heard that you've been watching.
Yes. I'm at like episode 153 or something like that on Netflix. Yeah, I'm at the Sky Island arc. I'm at the Sky Island arc.
I actually just finished up Skypiea.
Oh no shit! Yeah, I'm like half. Yes. I'm assuming I'm halfway through it. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, I'm at the Skypiea. I'm in the Skypiea arc. They're getting ready to go kick. They're getting ready to go kick God's ass.
It has been all right. Skypiea was one of these stories that I've kind of, when I first read through it, like 15 years ago, or however long ago it was, because I started reading this back in like 2003. So I've been in it for the long run. Skypiea was a story I had ultimately kind of overlooked, because I was like, with the grand scheme of things to come, which
right,
this is one of those stories where it gets so much better. And having now finished Alabasta, you know how great the series can get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's got those highs and lows. You're like kind of going along for the ride. I should ask, and I should have made the assumption there. What did you think of Alabasta overall? Because that one is one of those.
Remind me exactly what defines the Alabaster Arc. What are the enemies and that kind of stuff in the Alabaster Arc? Because I don't know them by that name. I don't know
Okay.
them by that name because I know a lot of you guys have read the manga, and I think that's how they're kind of set out in the manga, right?
So Alabasta was the desert kingdom that Vivi had come from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where they fought Crocodile.
Yeah, where they killed Crocodile. Yeah, they
Yeah.
killed Crocodile. Yeah, dude, that was fucking great. I loved that so much. That whole thing was fun. And like Crocodile, and then now the fact that they've got a new crewmate from Crocodile as well, which I love her. She's fucking great. Obviously spoken hot as well. He's Iron's like, hold on, I gotta go get something. Hold on. But yeah, no, I love the Alabaster Arc. I thought it was really good. I loved watching Crocodile get his ass kicked. I love how much that added. There. Oh, I haven't seen that version of her yet. Oh, damn. I can't wait till we get to that section. Yeah, that was one of the funny parts is like people ask, like, what's the actress in One Piece going to do about Nami's glow up? Right? Because Nami kind of like she kind of matures a little bit. You know, she's a little bit of a, not really a late bloomer, I wouldn't say, but she blooms a little more towards as the series goes on. So I'm going to be really curious to see if they figure out a way to make her tits bigger in the show.
I mean, I think it'd be so
right. The right bikini top, you know what I mean? The right bikini top, get those girls in the right place. But yeah, I think that's but no, that was great. I loved all that stuff. I loved all the history we got with that, as far as finding out about the network, and that the funny part about that is the coming the full round part, right? That was one of the things, like One Piece did something that had only ever been mentioned in the manga and in the anime, which was the fight between Zoro and the number agents. Right? It's only ever talked about in the show or in the anime and in the manga, but they actually show it in the One Piece live action from Netflix. And so that I thought was really cool to see, that kind of knowing what I knew about it from the show and then seeing that come to complete fruition in the Alabaster Arc. I was like, that's really cool. And watching them take down the criminal organization and like the what's the Swan guy that they kind of team up with, and kind of
Mr. Tuban Clay.
Yeah, Mr. Tuban Clay. Yeah, that guy, that whole back and forth is so outrageous. Like, they're friends in the beginning, and they find out they have to be enemies, and then he's like, "No, I want to be friends now that we're not working on opposite sides." And they're all like, "We don't trust you, asshole." So it was, and then he ends up being and then he ends up like kind of saving them and letting them get out of Alabaster and everything else. And
damn it, I hate this guy. Great. I love this guy. I hate this guy.
Right? That's exactly.
Damn it, I love this guy.
And he's annoying the entire time, which like you can't help but like, that's one of the things I love about the One Piece show, right? And that's one of the things people talk about. It's so optimistic, it's so hopeful, it's so positive. And it is. Like, there's always hopeful aspects. There's some very dark moments in One Piece. Absolutely. But there's always a bright side to it. There's always Luffy going, no, I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to succeed. And everybody's just like, all right, he hasn't failed us yet. I mean, he's a fucking idiot and he's gotten us into some damn trouble, but you know what? He hasn't failed us yet.
And that's the thing with it. It's like the series has those highs, it has those lows. And I can tell you from having gone on this journey, now I'm going back through it again. You haven't seen anything for those highs and lows yet. Like,
I've heard there's already a fucking, I was watching Demogeni's birthday stream for a second, and somebody decided they wanted to test his fucking One Piece knowledge, and he ended up spoiling me some shit about Luffy's brother. Yeah, about Luffy's brother. Like, he talks about how he dies and how that's how Luffy's first time he ever goes into like gear 5 or some shit. And I'm like, stop, shut the I had to turn the stream off because he wouldn't shut up. It's like, if he would have just left it at that, I'm like, fine, whatever. But he kept fucking going, talking about things. I'm like, bye. I'm like, you're not going to keep spoiling this shit for me. Like, I want to see that because I really like his brother.
Oh, God, Ace is fantastic. He's this guy who Luffy's like, I can never beat him.
Right.
So, since you've gone through Alabasta, the farewell. Tell me, there were some onions getting cut in that room, weren't there?
There was so, I'm normally pretty stoned when I'm watching a lot of these shows. Just from the FYI, I manufacture my own cannabis products, so yeah,
right.
It's like when you buy it by the liter, it's easy to make all your own stuff and not worry about it. But the United States Postal Man drops it off to my front door. God love that man. But it's like one of those things. It's like, yeah, I mean, like that moment, because I never thought she was going to go with them. I really didn't. I never thought that for a moment. But that emotional ending and her on the speakers and giving that last speech, holy God, that was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. I loved that final speech.
Like it was one of those, I can't watch it. I can't watch it, dry eyed. Like
Yeah.
the tears are rolling as like, the farewell's been happening.
Oh yeah.
And we can't say goodbye. All we can do is the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, exactly. Which I
And, like,
still, definitely got a little misty eyed on that one, no doubt about it. It was really, really well done. So I love that. I love all the crazy characters and everything else too. Holy shit.
It does, but I am hopeful with the future of like the Netflix series, like having seen that they could do like the Nami scene, the help me.
Oh yeah.
And
oh god, that's
just work just as strongly.
I honestly think that scene is more impactful with the way they did it in the show, because they never showed that the town knew about her the entire time. And I agree with that change. I think that scene is more emotionally impactful if you automatically assume the town just hates her. You know what I mean? I think it's more impactful that way.
Well, the one change I will say I didn't really like there was Luffy getting informed on her past, because
right.
I think when you look at the anime where Luffy has no idea about Nami's past, it tells you that I think it speaks more to his character that he didn't have to know anything about her backstory. All he needed to know was she needed his help.
Yep.
That guy made his navigator cry. Yep. That's all that matters. He's got kicking ass now.
Yeah, and that was fucking great. Yeah, Office Girls, like, anime will always make you cry. It doesn't matter what it's about, Japanese or sadists. Yes, that's why I feel kindred spirits with them. I totally relate. I also love to torture my friends. That's how I show love. I'm totally Crowley when it comes to that. I torture all my friends. It's how I show love. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things there was something else I was going to say, and I got distracted after we were talking about the Alabaster arc, because I got distracted by what Office Girl was saying.
Was it Skypiea?
Yeah, it's had something to do with Skypiea, and I don't remember what it was now. But like that, it's been, the Alabaster thing was really, really good. It was really well done. I liked seeing all those characters get the nice conclusions that they've got. I love the fact that we've got a new person on the ship that they didn't even realize she was there until like they're way out. Yeah, exactly. Until like they're way out in the water, and then all of a sudden like, oh yeah, how the hell has she been here the whole time? And yeah, I love that, because you never know which one of their enemies is going to end up becoming a friend. And I love that. Or like the people you think is going to be a friend ends up turning into an enemy, like in the Skypiea thing, Blackbeard, right? He's all like, like they're kindred spirits, when they're first talking, and he's like, hey kid, no, he's like, I believe in anybody that can take an ass kicking like that. And no, you are the real pirate. You believe in a dream. That guy, he's just a phony. He's just a fraud, yada, yada, yada. And then like later he's like, I'm going to try to kill that motherfucker.
Did you get? I think it's around episode 194, roughly, with the big sort of reveal of Skypiea about sort of the history of all that.
With like the fact that it part of it got blasted up into the air, and that's the reason why it's an island in the sky and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I did get. Yeah, I've gotten all the way to that point. I fell asleep last night. Well, I didn't quite fall asleep last night watching it, but I watched a few episodes last night before I went to bed. And I think the last thing I remember is they just got done defeating the Spheres guy. Got all the Spheres power. Yeah, all the surprise spheres. Yeah.
And I don't want to get too much into it for you, because there's so much great stuff to come there. But we get a couple episodes of flashback back to like I think like 400 years ago.
Oh yeah.
When it was on the ground. So you get to see like a lot of the significance of a lot of stuff you've seen up to this point.
Yeah.
And it's like these are characters that will have been dead for like hundreds of years, and just like these are like backstory characters that you wind up like completely getting engrossed in, and you're like, I love these guys. It's such a tragedy I only get to see them for like these 3 episodes.
I know. Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about One Piece is it's so well written. Like Oda has done such a good job writing these characters and doing the storytelling, making you care about characters that you're literally only going to see for 3 episodes and never see them again. And you're so engrossed in it. He does such a freaking good job with it. Like it just absolutely blows me away. We need to get Oda some of those rejuvenation treatments from Warhammer 40K so he can live forever and continue writing One Piece for us, because he would do it. He would flat out fucking do it if he could.
We gotta like sacrifice like 1,000 weebs to him to like keep him going.
There you go. Okay. Sacrifice 1,000 weebs at the altar of Oda so that way he can continue to write One Piece. And you've got like Oda on like with the little fish head symbol, because that's all you ever see him with is his little fish head symbol or whatever, right? You see him on the golden throne, and you just see like all these weebs at the throne of it. And he instead of sitting on the throne, he's actually got a desk in front of him, and he's drawing One Piece, and you just see all of these fucking weebs getting shoved into the bottom of the throne. That would be fucking. So One Piece shall never end. 1,000.
It is the 41st millennium. We are this week. Chapter 9,338 has released.
The Emperor Oda still continues to sit upon his golden throne, his golden desk, drawing out and writing more and more One Piece every single week for us. It's united the entire galaxy.
He sits at the king of the pirates' throne.
There you go. And now Luffy's actually out in space searching for the space One Piece. Oh because he's already found the one on Earth, but then some aliens show up, some space pirate aliens show up, and then they've got a story about their own version of One Piece.
It's space pirate Captain Harlock.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that'd be fucking great.
That would be great. The thing is, like, for as long as this series has gone on, this is a series where I honestly feel like the idea that the real treasures, the friends we made along the way, it would actually feel warranted and justified. Like, I wouldn't be mad at this just because,
right?
Like, look, I've been here. I've been here 20 years on this journey with this crew. I've seen the blood, the sweat, the tears that every single person on this crew has shed. Like, I remember the first time I'm seeing Usopp, and I'm like, I hate this guy's character design.
It's so fucking annoying. Yeah, that big fucking stupid nose he's got, and yeah.
And then before you know it, you're like, this is brave pirate Captain Usopp. I would fight for this man.
Yeah. Usopp's something else, dude. You talk about a fucking coward, man. He shows up when he's needed, and he pulls it out when he has to. But God, that man's always fucking screaming, trying to get away from shit. Like every Sky Islands are bad. Sky Islands are evil. Everything on the Sky Islands trying to kill you. It's like
I've developed my fear of New Islands disease.
Yeah, my New Islands disease. I don't want to go aboard. I'm going to stay right here on the boat.
Or that bit where they're like, where Usopp's the one deciding which of the 4 trials we're going to go through.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, the worst possible thing he's imagining. Like, how bad can a trial of orbs be?
Right? How bad could that possibly be? Boy, you asked the wrong question, didn't you? Oh, my God. Yeah, not a good thing at all. All right, I got to pee. We can continue this conversation in just a second, but I got to pee. I'll be right back.
This, guys, has been such a fun stream tonight. I don't think we're going to go too much longer. I just want to kind of let him come back. We'll wrap things up a little bit. And then, maybe I'll throw him maybe we'll kind of wrap things up here. And we have to do a part 2 to this, because I think we'll just have to do like the dedicated like One Piece stream. I might get a couple of guys together, I'm thinking, because that actually could be fun to get a bit of a little round table panel discussion of the series to this point. We're talking 200 some odd episodes like under our belts out of 1,000. So, at that point, it's a good place to say you're an expert on this series, which, shit, we could turn that into a whole mech stream because, well, we do got some big robots in One Piece. Let's see. The good pirate cyborg Frankie comes to mind. And I mean, at the end of the day, come on, we're just going to talk about the things we love. And I want to do that here. So I want to be able to, nerd out on all the cool stuff. Like, guys are super cool, And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. We're here to have some fun. That's what I'm ultimately here to do. And I think it's all that matters, because how long do we actually want to sit here and be mad about stuff? I mean, it's working, and clearly the mainstream is suffering from our constant bitching and moaning over you guys are doing it wrong with our beloved franchises. And that's fun for a time, but it does get old fast.
Oh, you get old fast.
Huh?
Exactly. See, I knew it. Called it right there. Oh God.
But like, by the way, in case you haven't heard about this or not, apparently the latest volume of One Piece, like volume 104, was the like number one best selling like volume of graphic novel last month.
Oh, nice. Well, that doesn't fucking surprise me. Like my first introduction to One Piece is when I did a video over the fact that it beat Batman in sales, like worldwide, for like entire history. And that's a character that's been around 70 years compared to a story that's been around 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, but I was just as a state to talk about how bad the comic book industry had gotten, because there's no reason that should have ever happened. There's no reason that should have ever fucking happened.
It was crazy. Like, I think the recent movie One Piece Red, like like the weekend it came out, I think it like outdid a Marvel film movie.
Well, that's not saying much these days, but it depends on which Marvel movie it outdid.
Oh, trying to remember.
$500 million loss on the Marvels.
Oh my God, like that's so bad. Like they pulled it. Didn't even make $100 million in the US.
Dude, okay. So initially, I remember people talking about, oh, it's probably not gonna get like close to 500 million. It's probably gonna do like 450 or something like that, but it's gonna still end up losing money. And I remember saying, I said, it'll be a miracle if this thing crosses 250. I was like, I'm thinking it might not even make fucking 200 worldwide. And holy shit, it's 3 million away from doing 200 million worldwide, and they've decided to stop reporting on the numbers, which means they don't think they're gonna make $3 million in the next month on this movie. And they're just calling it quits at this point. That's how bad it is.
See, I was guessing like 300 million would probably be the cap. And with that, I felt like I was playing it a little safe. But oh no, we were all off.
Yeah. I was about 50. I was about anywhere from 3 million to 50 million over. And I still had people thinking I was fucking crazy for saying that shit. That no, there's no way it's going to do that bad. Internationally, it's got to have to do better. Nope.
But you know what? The suffering of Marvel, the suffering of Disney, the suffering of DC is a delight to my ears.
Yep. Raises my desk 3 inches every time.
Mm-hmm. Look, you guys can keep suffering. I'm gonna laugh my way over here. I'm gonna go enjoy my next 800 episodes of One Piece, and I'll happily pay the Crunchyroll price. Yeah, no, absolutely. Dark Angels, like I might actually go pick up a codex, start looking into some of the stuff. So I'm like, I want to go check out like a little bit of the deeper lore. Like, I'm like, I want to know about like that freaking like otaku collector like Necron who's like off like having like a space zoo or some shit.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's a Necron that literally his goal is to have one of everything in his museum. So like that's his only purpose, and like dude will like help out or screw over people just to collect his stuff. So like he'll either screw over his own Necron race to get something he wants, or he'll help out Space Marines to get something he wants. Like if there's one place we ever end up finding the lost Primarch's bodies, like if they weren't just incinerated and erased from the warp, right? If anybody's going to have them, it's going to be that homeboy. We're going to find them in his collection. Like he's got one of everything.
And the fan of like pop culture I am, who sit here in my room surrounded with my shelves of boxes and DVDs and action figures. Like I sympathize with this man. I relate to this man.
I think that's why that character was created, because every nerd or geek can relate to that guy. Like there's no doubt about it whatsoever. So
I want to know what kind of like anime figurines he has.
And he does. He's got stuff from Old Earth. He's got stuff from Old Terra and all kinds of stuff. I think if I remember, because I haven't read his book, because there's a book that he's the main character on. And it's all about him. Yeah. There's not as much Xenos lore in the books as there is obviously Space Marines and the Imperium, because well, for one, everything's written from the viewpoint of the Imperium of mankind anyway. Plus, that's this is what drives Games Workshop, the models. You want more lore from a specific faction, you start buying their models and you start telling all your friends to buy their models, and then they will give you more lore. That's how it works. Why do Space Marines get the most lore? Because Space Marines sell the most models. And that's where Games Workshop makes its money, is on the plastic crack, not necessarily on like the books and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how it goes.
Well, I think this has been very informative tonight. And I've gone much longer than I thought I was planning. Think we were going to. And yet we somehow keep managing to bring it back to Warhammer.
Oh, we could go on. We could go on about this for the rest of the night. That's the reason why that's why they say geeking out. That's why they say nerding out, because this is what we do. This is why anybody that ever accuses us of being gatekeepers is a fucking moron. The only people we gatekeep against are people that come in and try to change things. Anybody that's willing to come in and wants to learn, trust me, we will spew knowledge at you all freaking day long.
I think Razor Fist was one who put it best. Like, to gatekeep the gatekeepers. Everyone is welcome, except people who start trying to demand that we kick other people out. You can get the fuck out.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That is a spot on point, because that's what happens in the Warhammer 40K universe all the time. These motherfuckers will try to come in and say that this has to be that way and this has to be that way. And for one, Games Workshop just ignores them. And the community themselves, like it works. Like cultural enforcement works. You know what I mean? That's the reason why you do that kind of thing, is because it gets those kind of people away from your shit, so they can't fuck it up like they've done to so many other things.
Well, it would be nice if some of these other small companies would start to take that page, take that message home, because Goodman Games has unfortunately decided to bend the knee for daring to have a bunch of white guys on a panel to talk about role-playing games.
Oh, Jesus. Which company was that?
Goodman Games. They make Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Oh, okay. I've never really gotten into those, but I know what they are. Yeah, man, that doesn't. Yeah. And this is the problem, is and the thing about it is a lot of the creators are starting to understand why you act like Oda with your stuff. You know what I mean? Because they're understanding why this destruction happens, whether it be a big time studio or whether it be listening to these crazy woke guys on the internet that, guess what, don't buy your shit. You know what I mean? All those crazy people out there that are crying for female Space Marine models, guess what? You know what they're never going to buy? A female Space Marine model. No. It's never going to happen.
No, they're gonna make like 5 of their little parody accounts and claim to be like the female Space Marine, and they'll never buy a book.
Nope.
Or if you're lucky, they'll accidentally have like an Audible credits to buy a book with.
Yeah, no, they'll basically do a slight skim over the wiki, and that'll be about the end of any of their information whatsoever. That's the end of their knowledge base. So, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I've learned most of my stuff from lore videos on other people's channels, but those are guys whose lore videos are very accurate. If you guys don't have, if my like 3 or 4 Warhammer videos over on Geeks and Game with Tabletop aren't enough for you, which I completely understand, there's 2 resources I always recommend. Luton 09, if you've got about anywhere from 20 to an hour and a half to kill. Okay, Luton's great. A lot of people use him to go to sleep because he's got a very nice voice, but the guy's very good about his lore. He's a very good storyteller. The other one, if you've only got about 10 minutes and you want to learn a condensed information about one particular topic or one particular faction inside of Warhammer 40K without a lot of the backstory and stuff like that, Major Kill is another one. The guy's raunchy. He will flat out tell you he's an asshole. He acts like one. He's a little bit of a misogynist, but I'd imagine his girlfriend makes him his bitch. Makes him her bitch, because that's just the kind of guy he seems like he is. But he's got he comes off as a tool, but he's funny. When you realize he's acting this way because it's a gag and because it's funny and because everybody gets a kick out of it, he's kind of a parody of all of that kind of stuff. And he's really funny, but he talks about big booty elf space girlfriends. I'm having the Eldar. He's like, all I want's a big booty Eldar girlfriend. Like that's the kind of shit he's into. Like his Patreon is literally nothing but 40K hentai and some live action nude cosplayers.
All right,
Yeah,
I gotta end the show here. I gotta go look. I gotta go do research.
Research on the Major Kill Patreon. For only $1 a month, you can get access to all of his hentai. All of his Warhammer 40k hentai. Yeah.
I mean, for access to his research.
Yes, exactly. Access to his research. But yeah, so that's kind of what you need to know about Major Kill. Watch some of his videos. Look at him as a clown. Look at him as a laugh. Look at him as an entertainer. Don't take anything he says too seriously. Just like in Warhammer 40k, nothing is canon, and so is everything. Don't take any of it too seriously. It's the same thing with Major Kill. He's funny though. He's got some good entertainment.
So what? One last thing I'm going to recommend before. Well, I'm going to make 2 short recommendations on our way out of here. First, I'm always gonna recommend people, check out a lot of tokusatsu if you want to watch more, big like rubber suit monster shit. Like, if you're liking that Godzilla -1 out there, maybe come check out some like the Ultraman. Which, by the way, the barrier to entry with Ultraman has never been made lower ever. Like, they are straight up uploading episodes to YouTube, like from Toho, and are like put in giving you English dubbing, so you don't even have to read. The barrier to entry is the lowest I have ever seen it, and they want that in that worldwide appeal, because like Ultraman is bigger in China than like Superman.
Yeah,
hell, I'm got my lovely some Ultra 7.
Hell yeah!
And for the big robots out there, BattleTech has some great YouTubers out there. Like, if you haven't checked them out yet, Tex of the Black Pants Legion is phenomenal stuff. Like, I'll send you some of his stuff. It is he is like legendary. The guy is like almost single-handedly.
I don't know much about BattleTech, but it's always something that's fascinated me because I've always been into like the big mechs and stuff like that. That's why I love when Alec Baldwin's finger gifted me the Armored Core 6 game. I fucking fell in love with that. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Well, yeah, I think you would also enjoy in that case Mech Warrior 5, which is one of the couple of BattleTech video games. Because you are in big stompy robots. They are kind of slow like tanks, but you're going through just firing lasers and missiles, hailing fire down on the battlefield.
Yeah, the last Mech Warrior game I played was in like the late 90s. I think I was probably in like 5th grade, and it was on a PC. But yeah, that was the last. But yeah, I've been with the Mech Warrior series way. I was with the Mech Warrior series way back in the day when they were still on PC and shit like that. Excuse me.
All right, so as we are on our way out, where can people find you? Because aside from Friday, where we will be hanging out doing some comic talk.
Absolutely. Comic Shop Talk on Friday night. Cannot wait. Always love that. You can find me over on Rumble at the Common Nerd. It's very simple, very easy to find. You can also find me on Twitter, Common Nerd 1791. I do live stream Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time every single day. So I will be live again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Sometimes we do an evening show around 6 p.m. It just depends on what I've got going on in the evening. Like we did one tonight. I've always got my evening shows always have a lot of great guests. The daily show, the morning show is just kind of me in the chat going through all the news of the day. If you guys want previews to my videos, my news videos and stuff like that, come over there and hang out with that. Cause a lot of the time I do cuts. A lot of the time I'll just go video mode and do a video right in the middle of those streams because it's easier that way since Rumble likes streaming and I'm rumbling. I'm on the Rumble so much more now. So that's what I cut my videos out there. I put them over on Vets Talking. I still have a presence on YouTube. I'm doing the pop culture stuff for Vets Talking now. So yeah, live stream pretty much twice a day. Friday night I'll be over on Comic Shop. Oh, well, actually, yeah, Friday night I'll be on Ball Busters before Comic Shop Talk. And I might be a little late to Comic Shop Talk, and I might be a little drunk when I show up too, considering it's Ball Busters. But hopefully I can get the reading done in before all of that. And then yeah, Friday night Comic Shop Talk. Saturday, this Saturday, I believe if I won't actually be participating in the stream, I will be in the chat hanging out. One of our really good friends, Sunker Maiden, who is also a regular on my evening show. She was on tonight, Serenity Two Witches. She's a really cool, really smart chick, really big into all the D&D stuff, but she's super smart about a lot of things and doesn't look half bad either. We'll do silly things for Rumble rants so I can get paid. So don't worry about, so don't think you can't say silly things.
I just went and started kind of the process of setting up the Rumble account today. So
you need to get that done. This is one of the things I've been on Rumble since the very beginning of my channel. I've been on Rumble longer than most people even knew the platform existed. I was on Rumble very early on when I first heard about it, because it was a video competition platform is initially what it was, which is why it was called Rumble. And the like buttons used to be boxing gloves. And like it was very, it was almost kind of more of a game with videos is what it was initially before it evolved into what it is now. But yeah, back when my politics day. So this is what I always recommend. Even if you don't go over to Rumble and hang out, have an account. Follow your favorite creators over there if they have a Rumble account, because you never know when something stupid like what happened to me will happen. And then your favorite creator is gone and now you don't know where to find them. I've got 3,500 followers over on YouTube that have no idea what happened to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm just gone and I have no way to reach out to them because they weren't part of my Rumble. They weren't following me on Twitter. They weren't part of my Gilded. Like, YouTube is a fickle bitch. Okay. Let's just be honest about that. Like, you never know when someday they're going to come after you for something stupid and there is no recourse, because I am not a guy with 100,000 subscriber. I was not a guy with a 100,000 subscriber channel. I don't have close friends that I can call on and go, hey, can you reach out to YouTube for me? I don't have a person at YouTube that I can talk to. And even if I did, they might still tell me to go fuck myself. Which is essentially what they did on Twitter, and it's what they did on all my appeals as well. So please come find me over on Rumble. We're trying to get our follow, because like I said, this is my full-time job. I am a full-time video live streamer. And so it's one of those things we're trying to get our memberships. It's you can follow on Rumble, and then you can become a subscriber on Rumble, which that's essentially like memberships over on YouTube. It's $5 a month. You get access to more emojis than what we had on YouTube. And actually, just for following, you get access to 2 little emojis that you can use in the chat as well. And then also, they'll also lead you to the locals. You can become a subscriber on locals. So if you want to do more than $5 a month, you can do higher levels on locals. I have some people that are subscribers on locals and subscribers on my Rumble both. It's a really great platform. It's improving all the time. I know sometimes the app acts a little funny. It works a little bit better on the browsers, but you got to think about it. This is what YouTube was 15 years ago. You know what I mean? YouTube did not become YouTube overnight. It didn't just pop up out of the ground in the form you see it in is now. That took literal decades of work to get it to where it is. Rumble is essentially starting from scratch. They're not borrowing code from anybody. They're not licensing. Like, why did Kick get up and running so fast? Because they licensed the code of Twitch from Amazon. That's why they were able to basically be up and running on day one. Rumble isn't doing that. They're building everything themselves from the ground up. They don't really have much of an algorithm over there. It's basically, you just gotta, the notification system has got a lot better. So normally if somebody you follow goes live, you'll get a notification on your Rumble app. But yeah, it's a great platform. It's a great place to be. I support Odyssey. Odyssey is another great platform as well. I do all of my live streams on Twitter as well. I stream to 4 different places when I stream. So there's a lot of great ways, options. Just do that. Try to be on every platform, because you never know when something dumb like what happened to me happens, and then now you can't follow your favorite creator. And now, like, I'm trying to build, like, I had enough members that I was doing pretty well over on YouTube as far as like sustaining things and keeping the bills paid. Now I'm trying to grind that back up and get subscribers over on Rumble again, and try to get back to that 100 subscribers every month that I had, like I did over on, I actually had a few more than that on YouTube. Because that's guaranteed income for me every month. That means that I know I am going to be secure. I'm not always just depending on Rumble rants and having to get drunk on stream and do super chats, do Rumble rants for shots and do stuff like that. So please help out my liver. Come become a subscriber over on my locals or over on my Rumble and help out.
Well, thank you so much for coming out, guys. Check out the Common Nerd. He is one of the most dedicated guys I've seen. He up here every day, busting his balls. Keep going, and help out his liver.
Help out my liver and my wife's sanity.
Yeah, help him buy diapers.
Yeah, I got a 5th one on the way. They're coming soon. She's coming soon. She's coming soon.
Congratulations, by the way.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that, man.
Yep. Sorry about the noise back here.
Nah, you're good.
Nephew's around.
I get it. Oh, yeah.
He's 3.
Yeah. I understand. My daughter's 3. So yeah, I completely get it.
Well, we'll have to do this soon. I'm gonna have to get some feelers out, try to figure out who wants to come talk about some big, cool robot stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find someone who wants to talk about some like Ultraman next week, or maybe find someone who wants to do the Kamen Rider. We'll figure it out.
There you go.
Maybe I'll actually go watch Godzilla -1.
Hey, now you're talking. There you go. Nothing but good. I've heard nothing but good things about that one.
Same. I'm looking forward to it, but I like the rubber suit monster stuff. That's about the only like issue though. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be a good CGI, but I kind of missed the Rubber Suit Monsters. I guess I'm gonna go crash and go watch some Ultraman.
Hell yeah, that sounds like a good evening, man.
I wonder if I don't have any clips.
You don't have an outro?
No, I gotta get one. I'm still working on this. This is like I think the third stream I've done of this so far.
Oh, that's right, because you're normally on everybody else's streams, aren't you?
Yeah, I
Or
decided
everybody
to finally
else's
start doing
channels.
this for myself.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, we'll work on it.
I guess you could have like the only other intro I'll play for you the intro for my last show
There
that I
you
actually
go.
put
Let's
together.
do it.